All right, what's up, everybody? So we're back. We have the M1 in the background here. Been doing a little work to it. So I sent everything out and got it powder coated. I seriously cannot thank GSR Turbo or After Hours Powders for getting everything done. Everything turned out absolutely phenomenal. I cannot be more happy with the results. We literally powder coated everything. Like the subframe, the control arms, the mounts, the battery box, the covers for the horns. Like we even went and I even went and got the headlight brackets done. Like you'll never see those when they're on the car, but I know they're done. Of course, we dressed them up with Downstar bolts. And of course, I mean, this just turned out phenomenal. I have the brake lines done. Well, I have them set in place. I still have to flare a couple lines to go back to the back. We have them ran in the general vicinity. I just want to try to get everything test fitted. Like we have the AC lines in and love the way this turned out. Paris went ahead and she wrapped all of the lines in wiring loom. So now we're on the subject of test fitting everything. I actually went and I got this tuck harness. I was using the factory harness at first, but since we were doing a tuck and a shave, I wanted to go ahead and get a better harness. So I got this harness. Everything is labeled. I actually bought this from eBay, believe it or not. So everything is military grade. It's oil resistant. And I went to the junkyard and got this grommet, had it powder coated, and then I ran every single one of these plugs through the OEM grommet. We'll talk about a pain, but I think it turned out great, and I'm happy to see how this turns out. As many of you know, I'm going supercharged. I bought the TVS 1900 kit from Merch Racing. The only thing I have right now is the charger, though. I have yet to receive the manifold or the air-to-water setup at all, so I'm still waiting on that. I wanted to take a moment today, and we are going to tackle the suspension. We powder-coated the subframe. It used to be white. White was a terrible idea. It looked good when it was clean, but it was a pain to keep clean. The original plan was I got these powder coated. I actually got the lower control arms powder coated as well. But unfortunately, I ended up messing up one of the threads. One of the bolts got real soft whenever we took them and sandblasted them. So whenever I put the bolt in to bolt these together, they went in fine. Well, I had to take them out. Whenever I ran it back out, it ended up destroying the threads in this. I actually went ahead and ordered all new control arms, and I went and got the ones with the holes in them because those are CX model, so they don't have the hole in them for the sway bar. But I wanted to add a sway bar. The car has everything in the back for the ASR subframe, so I wanted to go and add the rear sway bar and as well as the front sway bar. So I did pick up a GSR sway bar. So I'm going to put that in, but it needs to be sent and get powder coated because it looks terrible. We got new control arms. They're on their way. They should be here today so that we could we used the EX lower control arms so that they have the holes for the sway bar. The lower control arms were $100. If for an extra $50, you got all new inner outer tie rod ends, all new boots. Well, this boot is actually ripped, as you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace all that while we're at it. It's pretty much just like a peace of mind type of thing. Just so I know everything is done. Obviously, we're going to have to get an alignment anyways because everything is out of the car. So I'm just going to go ahead. It's like for $50 extra, why not change everything else so that you know everything is 100%. But that's what we're going to do today. So let's get right into it. All right, so we have new boots, inner and outer tie rod ends, new upper and lower ball joints, new sway bar links, and brand new lower control arms. The first thing you're going to do is take off these bands. You cannot reuse these. Most people, whenever they take them off, they just use zip ties. But this kit comes with new bands, and then on the end, the hole is pretty small, so it should stay in put. But I'm going to go ahead and put a zip tie on the end of that just in case. So we're going to go ahead and get these off. I'm just going to take this flathead screwdriver, wedge it underneath of there. And just kind of pry on it. so that it slides off the boot like that. And then you could go ahead and take a pair of snips or, you know, those pliers, whatever, and just snip it. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, you destroy this band and they're not usable from the factory. So after you do that, you can go ahead and slide the boot off like so. Now we can go ahead and change the inner tie rod in. All right, so pretty much you just take a pair of channel locks. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand, but you take a pair of channel locks and just, it comes out lefty-loosey like everything else. Then you just go ahead and twist it off. And since we're replacing the inner and outer tie rod ends, we could just take it out all at once. And I'm just gonna repeat to the other side. All right, so the kit I went with was Detroit Axles, and their tie rod ends actually have a grease fitting so that they're serviceable. They actually come with new nuts, Newcastle nut, a cotter pin, and the grease fitting all in one. All right, so the grease fitting is a 7mm. Just get a little ratchet, 1/4 inch, and give her a tighten. You don't want to over tighten it because you'll definitely snap it off. All right, so I went ahead and got this side installed, and I'm going to show you guys how to do the other side. There is a silver washer, and you guys can see the nipples on this. This actually slides into those keyways so that it doesn't move. So you slide this onto the end of your tie rod and then start screwing it in a couple threads. And then you could actually slide this into the grooves that they go. And then just continue screwing it in, and it'll actually bring it in the rest of the way. Like that. So make sure those keyways line up, or you're gonna have a bad day. Okay, we've hit our first problem. So Detroit Axle actually gives you these bands that are supposed to go in and hold the boot on. Well, they're too big, they don't work. So scratch that. We're gonna go ahead and use every Honda kid's dream and use zip ties. Let's just snug them up and snip it off. Perfect. And that's how you do the rack. The rack has a fresh rebuild. All right, so now lower control arms. So the bottom of these bushings, there's 2 holes. They line up with these 2 holes, and they go upside down like that. So you want to make sure that you have the right one for the right side. Control arms are actually marked left and right. This one has an R on it. That one has an L on it. But just for further reference, this is where your ball joint, you want that to be towards the front of your subframe. Then you take your washer, slide your washer on, make sure that this lines up with those 2 holes so it'll actually be upside down. And then you slide it on. There's another washer, and then they actually supply a lock nut. Go ahead and slide that on. All right, so I flipped this up to make it easier. But basically, you're going to take this and slide it into that. And then stick one of your 19mm bolts into this hole. You have one 19mm bolt here, one 17mm bolt here for the upper. And then these will actually go underneath the car. There's 2 bolts that hold the subframe up. And you have 1 bolt here that holds the subframe into the car itself. So we're just going to do the same thing for the other side. All right, so there you have it. That pretty much wraps up the subframe part of it. New lower control arms, all that happy nonsense. I'm not going to repeat it because you guys just watched it. So now we get to take and put the subframe actually into the car, hopefully for the last time. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. go ahead and install everything. Just pull this up frame. It's pretty straightforward. It's like 6 or 7 bolts. Get all the suspension bolted in. But thanks guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that heavy nonsense. And I'll see you guys in the next one.